Hello, beautiful ladies. Let's talk about something that quietly breaks a lot of hearts, but almost no one explains honestly. Have you ever shared an intimate moment with a man, felt close, open, even hopeful, and then suddenly he pulled away? His text slowed, his energy shifted, and you were left wondering, what did I do wrong? Here's the truth most women never hear. When a man runs after sex, it's rarely about your body. It's rarely about what you did in bed. And it's almost never because you weren't enough. Intimacy doesn't scare men. What scares them is what intimacy means. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 real reasons men disappear after sex. Not to shame him, and definitely not to blame you, but to give you clarity. Because when you understand why this happens, you stop internalizing it and you start choosing differently. And clarity, that's powerful. Let's talk about the first reason. Sex gave him what he wanted, not what he was ready for. This is one of the most misunderstood dynamics in dating. And it's not about blame, it's about awareness. Because sometimes when intimacy happens, it opens a door emotionally that a man didn't realize he wasn't prepared to walk through. Here's the truth most women are never told. A man can deeply desire you, crave your body, feel intense chemistry, and still not be emotionally ready for what intimacy awakens inside him. Sex doesn't just satisfy physical desire, it amplifies emotions. It makes things feel real. It turns curiosity into connection. And for a man who isn't grounded in what he wants, that sudden depth can feel overwhelming. In the moment, everything feels right. He's present. He's passionate. He's drawn to you. But afterward, when the intensity fades and he's alone with his thoughts, something shifts. Not because you did anything wrong, but because intimacy gave him more than he had planned for. It asked him, quietly, but clearly, what does this mean now? And if he doesn't have that answer, distance becomes his escape. This is why some men pull away after sex, even when the connection felt beautiful. It's not regret, it's emotional overload. He got the closeness, the warmth, the vulnerability without having built the inner readiness to hold it. And instead of leaning in, he retreats to regain control of his emotions. What's important to understand is that this isn't about your worth, it's about his emotional capacity. Some men chase desire, but aren't prepared for attachment. They want the feeling, not the responsibility of what that feeling invites. And when sex accelerates emotional intimacy faster than his self-awareness can keep up with, running feels safer than staying. This is also why chemistry alone is never enough. A man can be attracted, excited, and captivated, but if he hasn't done the emotional work to understand what he wants in a woman, intimacy can confuse him instead of grounding him. He may tell himself he needs space, time, or distance, when what he really needs is clarity. And here's where your power comes in. When you understand this pattern, you stop internalizing his withdrawal. You stop asking, what did I do wrong? And start seeing the situation clearly. You realize that sex didn't push him away, his lack of readiness did. A woman who understands this doesn't chase explanation. She doesn't try to pull him back with more giving, more availability, or more intimacy. She stays grounded. She lets his actions speak. And that calm self-respect is incredibly magnetic, because the right man doesn't run from closeness. He's anchored by it. And when a man runs after sex, it's often because intimacy showed him something about himself he wasn't ready to face. And knowing that, it gives you peace, clarity, and the confidence to only open yourself to someone who can truly meet you where you are. Let's talk about the second reason, and this one is subtle, emotional, and deeply misunderstood. He enjoyed you, but he wasn't clear about wanting a relationship. Now listen closely, beautiful, because this has nothing to do with your worth, your beauty, or how amazing the connection felt. A man can genuinely enjoy being with you, your touch, your laughter, your presence, the intimacy you shared, and still not be emotionally ready or willing to choose a relationship. And that confusion is often what makes him pull away. When a man hasn't decided what he wants long-term, intimacy can actually overwhelm him. In the moment, he feels desire, closeness, and comfort. But afterward, instead of leaning in, his mind starts racing. He begins asking himself questions he doesn't have answers to. What does this mean? Am I supposed to step up now? Can I give her what she deserves? And when a man feels unsure, he doesn't talk, he retreats. What's tricky is that before sex, he may have been warm, attentive, even romantic. And after, he goes quiet, less texting, less effort, less presence. Not because he didn't enjoy you, but because he enjoyed you without clarity. And that internal conflict makes him uncomfortable. Men who are emotionally clear often use distance to calm themselves. Pulling back helps them avoid facing expectations, real or imagined. Even if you never ask for more, intimacy naturally creates a feeling of something more. And when he doesn't know if he can meet that energy, running feels easier than explaining. This is where many women start blaming themselves. They think, did I do too much? Was I too open? Did I scare him? But the truth is, your softness didn't scare him. His uncertainty did. Your femininity didn't push him away. His lack of direction did. A man who is clear will move toward connection after intimacy. A man who isn't will feel the closeness and then panic about what it asks of him emotionally. So he distances himself not to hurt you, but to protect himself from a decision he's not ready to make. Here's the powerful part. This reason has nothing to do with changing yourself. You don't need to be colder, harder, or less affectionate. The real lesson is awareness. When a man enjoys you but avoids clarity, believe his actions. Let him sit with his confusion. Don't carry it for him. A woman who understands this doesn't chase explanations. She doesn't shrink her desire. She simply notices whether a man moves closer or further away after intimacy. And that observation gives her power, because the right man won't feel overwhelmed by connection. He'll feel grounded by it. And when he's clear, he won't run. He'll stay. Let's talk about the third reason. Intimacy triggered emotional vulnerability he doesn't know how to handle. This is one of the most misunderstood reasons men pull away after sex, and it has nothing to do with you doing something wrong. In fact, it often happens because the connection was real. When intimacy is deep, warm, and emotionally charged, it doesn't just touch the body, it opens something inside him. For a moment, his guard drops. He feels seen, he feels close. He feels a level of softness, an attachment he may not be used to feeling so quickly. And while that closeness feels beautiful in the moment, it can also feel overwhelming afterward. Many men are not taught how to sit with emotional vulnerability. They're taught how to desire, how to pursue, how to perform, but not how to feel. So when intimacy stirs emotions they can't name or control, their instinct isn't to lean in, it's to step back. After sex, he may suddenly feel exposed, not weak, just open. And openness can feel risky to someone who hasn't learned how to stay present in it. Instead of saying, wow, this touched me more than I expected, his nervous system looks for safety, and distance feels like safety. This is why some men become quieter after intimacy, not cold, just unsettled. They don't fully understand why they feel more connected, more attached, or more emotionally stirred than they planned. And rather than explore that feeling, they retreat from it. Here's what's important for you to understand. This reaction is not about losing attraction. Often, it's the opposite. He felt something real and that scared him. When intimacy activates emotional closeness, it challenges the version of himself he thought he was being. Maybe he told himself he wanted something casual. Maybe he believed he was emotionally guarded. And suddenly, there he is, feeling bonded, calm, warm, or deeply connected, and that doesn't match the story he had in his head. So he runs. Not because the intimacy meant nothing, but because it meant more than he expected. This is also why chasing him or demanding clarity in this moment can push him further away. When a man is overwhelmed by feelings he doesn't understand, pressure feels like danger. Silence, space, or emotional withdrawal feels like relief. The most powerful thing to remember here is this. emotional maturity determines whether vulnerability brings someone closer or makes them disappear, and that maturity is not something you can create for him. A man who knows how to sit with emotions will lean into connection after intimacy. A man who doesn't will retreat from it, even if he felt deeply drawn to you. This isn't a reflection of your worth, your beauty, or your femininity. It's a reflection of his relationship with his own emotions. So if he pulls away after closeness, don't assume you were too much. Sometimes you simply touched a part of him he hasn't learned how to hold yet. And a woman who understands this doesn't chase. She observes. She stays grounded. And she lets a man reveal whether he's capable of meeting her where intimacy naturally leads. Because real connection doesn't scare emotionally available men. It anchors them. Now let's talk about the fourth reason. He confused chemistry for compatibility. This one is subtle, powerful, and it breaks a lot of hearts because chemistry can feel intoxicating. It can feel electric. It can make a man feel alive in your presence, drawn to you in a way that feels almost magnetic. When the attraction is strong, when the tension is thick, when the intimacy flows easily, a man can believe he's found something real, even when he hasn't fully understood what it is yet. In those early moments, chemistry speaks louder than logic. His body responds to you instantly. The way you move, the way you look at him, the way you make him feel desired, it all lights him up. And in that glow, he may assume that this spark means you're right for each other. But chemistry is fast. Compatibility is slow. Chemistry burns hot. Compatibility burns steady. After sex, when the intensity settles and the rush fades, a man sometimes has a quiet realization. He starts to notice the difference between how excited he felt and how aligned he actually is with you. Not because you did anything wrong, not because the connection wasn't real, but because chemistry doesn't answer the deeper question. It doesn't tell him how he feels about your values, your pace, your emotional needs, or your long-term direction. This is where some men pull back, not because the intimacy wasn't good, but because it was so powerful, it made them confront what's missing. The attraction pulled them in quickly, but afterward, they realize they don't know how to stay. And instead of having the emotional language to explain that, they retreat. What's important for you to understand, beautiful, is that this isn't a reflection of your worth. When a man confuses chemistry for compatibility, he's responding to a feeling, not a future. He's reacting to desire, not deciding on direction. And when the fog clears, he may realize he's not ready or not able to build something deeper. This is why slowing the pace emotionally is so powerful. It allows space for compatibility to reveal itself alongside attraction. It lets him experience you not just as a spark, but as a presence. A woman who brings warmth, ease, conversation, and emotional safety into the room, not just heat. Men who are ready for something real don't just crave chemistry, they crave alignment. They want to feel excited and grounded, drawn in and at peace. When those two meet, they stay. When they don't, they often disappear. So if a man runs after sex because he confused chemistry for compatibility, remember this: chemistry opens the door, but compatibility decides who stays inside. And a woman who understands, that doesn't chase sparks, she creates connection that lasts. Now let's talk about the fifth reason. He wasn't emotionally available from the start. This is one of the hardest truths to accept. Beautiful, because the connection can feel real, the chemistry can feel deep, and the intimacy can feel warm and intense. When you're close to a man, when bodies meet and emotions soften, it's easy to believe that something meaningful is growing. But emotional availability isn't created by intimacy, it's revealed by it. A man who isn't emotionally available can still desire you deeply. He can crave your touch, your warmth, your presence. He can enjoy the closeness, the passion, the comfort of being wanted. In those moments, he feels alive. He feels connected, but that doesn't mean he's capable of staying emotionally present once the moment passes. After sex, when the room grows quiet and the intensity fades, an emotionally unavailable man often feels exposed. Not because you did anything wrong, but because closeness awakens feelings he doesn't know how to hold. Instead of leaning in, he pulls away. Instead of deepening the bond, he distances himself. It's his way of regaining control over emotions he never learned how to manage. What makes this especially confusing is that before intimacy, he may have seemed open. He may have listened. He may have shared parts of himself. But emotional availability isn't about words, it's about consistency. It's about how a man behaves after closeness, not just during it. An emotionally available man feels calmer with intimacy. An unavailable one feels restless. Often, this kind of man enjoys connection in small, intense doses. He likes the excitement, the validation, the feeling of being desired. But when intimacy asks him to slow down, to stay present, to show up emotionally, he disappears. Not because you asked for too much, but because even a little more feels like too much to him. This isn't about your attractiveness. It isn't about how loving, sensual, or understanding you are. You could be everything and still not be right for someone who isn't ready to receive love. Emotional availability is about capacity, not chemistry, and no amount of passion can replace that. What's important for you to know is this: emotionally unavailable men don't change because someone loves them harder. They change when they decide to face themselves. Until then, intimacy will always feel like a threat instead of a gift. That's why awareness is power. When you notice a man becoming distant after closeness, when he avoids emotional conversations, when he keeps things vague or inconsistent, that's not mystery, that's information. And it allows you to protect your heart without closing it. A woman who understands this doesn't chase after someone who retreats. She doesn't try to prove her worth. She simply observes, accepts, and chooses herself. And that energy calm, grounded, self-respecting is incredibly magnetic because the right man won't run from intimacy. He'll relax into it. He'll stay present. He'll feel stronger, not scared when he's close to you. And that's the kind of connection you deserve. If a man runs after sex, it doesn't define your value. It reveals his readiness. The right man doesn't disappear. When intimacy deepens, he becomes clearer, steadier, and more present. And the moment you stop chasing men who run is the moment you make space for a man who stays.